extra. Express myself, I'm next up. Yeah, what more do you say? Coming up. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Come up now. Come on. Stop me. Come on. You coming up.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We need to play that intro again because all I know is I looked up and saw my picture and then your picture. I'm like, wait a minute. That's new. That's different.
Oh, that's really funny. I'm over here like trying to make sure that everybody is tagged in, all of our stuff is good. And of course, I'm in my head just singing our normal song. I'm gonna have to run it back.
Yeah, you missed it. We're gonna have to watch that again. Like, wait a minute. But I love it. I love it. Hey, everybody. Oh my goodness, we're back. It is another Tuesday. Welcome to the House of Peach. You have me, April, and my beautiful host, Morgan. We are here again to have another amazing guest and have a great show and empower you, inspire you, and motivate you. Do some collab, have some fun, have some laughs, talk about some serious issues, everything included and in between. So we hope that you've had a great day. It has been a day. It's been a day. How's the day been for you?
A day is definitely a description. I cannot lie. The day started off great because a wonderful, beautiful little baby girl entered this world.
Hey.
Mom and dad did an absolutely phenomenal job. I'm a sucker for partners really just being really, really involved. And like at one point, he was just like, "Can I catch her?" And he was just like so excited. Yeah. So he was like, he got to catch his baby, and like it was a beautiful experience. So yeah, I'm a little tired. I'm recouping. But yeah, today at least started off pretty well. And Taco Tuesday for dinner tonight. It was real simple. Throw it together. So everybody's fed. We're good to go.
What time was the baby born?
Right after, I think around like 1:30, 1:50-ish.
This morning?
Yeah, this morning. Ooh. Exactly. So yeah, I got home at around, 4 because it's imperative to not just kind of dash out. Just because now baby's here doesn't mean that everyone is out of the woods. So we want to make sure that, the birthing person is comfortable, that there aren't any kind of complications afterward. Bleeding is under control. We get, perfect latch. When I say like this baby latched like a whole pro, like she's been here before. Yeah. Wow. Like it was wonderful. It was just absolutely wonderful. That's so how was your day, girl?
Always busy. The teaching. So I'm thinking remote teaching is going to be amazing. I can sit at home. It's a lot of work doing that because I'm online and I'm like looking at literally on the computer every single day from 7:00 in the morning until 11:00 at night. And I'm sitting here like, why are my eyes? So I got to get my eyes checked. And I'm sitting here, my vision's blurred. I'm like, let me check my blood pressure. But I think my blood pressure cuff is broken. So I'm like, what is going on? So this computer thing, oh my goodness.
So yeah, you definitely gonna have to get one of those like blue light glasses or something like that. I was like, definitely that. And I'm sure it's not easy. I was like, you don't have any breaks in between classes?
Well, I give the students, they get 3 15-minute breaks because I teach for 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
So they get 3 15-minute breaks. And I make sure that when they take their break, I'm out of there. Like I'm taking a break. I'm not looking at anything. I don't take my phone. I get something to eat. I walk around and do something like that. I try to at least give myself that break. But when it's after class is over, I have to put grades in and I have to put attendance in and all this stuff. So it's just like nonstop, boom, boom, boom.
Right. Absolutely.
But I'm going to do all of that because I need my eyes. I need them to work a whole lot longer.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to do that. But other than that, I do enjoy working from home. Now that part I do, not having to actually get up and go into an office. I can just, put on some clothes and come in here And in my one of the bedrooms in my house is my makeshift office right now
Good.
here. And I'm sitting like facing the window. So I open the blinds up. So I'm watching stuff as it go by, like, a little entertaining. Because my students are watching TV while I'm teaching. Like, no, you just disrespectful. Oh yeah, they just do all kinds of stuff. But happy ever.
Well, look, hopefully those grades will better reflect.
Well, I have one student who is trying me. And so I had to send her a nice little email. And then I said, if you want to talk tomorrow after class, then we can do that. Because my decision still is standing as what it is.
Ooh, I don't know if I'd be able to handle Professor April.
Hey, the word spread about me within the first couple of weeks, like, Miss April doesn't play.
She ain't the one.
April don't play. Oh, I want you to know that I don't. So don't try to come at me because I've been doing this way longer than you've been in this program. So don't know.
Exactly. Plus, your time and everything is valuable. Like, I'm gonna need people to really just, like you said, it's about respect at the end of the day.
Right. So, I'm looking forward to meaningful mornings and everything that's entailed because I have to get my mind together. So I make sure I watch what I say. So
yes.
I had one try me this morning. And I was like, so what you trying to say? She was like, oh, what does that mean? All in the camera. I'm like, see, this is being recorded. Let me just sit back here and be quiet because I'm trying to keep my little job. Okay. Let me just leave it alone. But don't try me, chick. Don't try me. So yeah.
I feel you.
Right.
Well, new moon, new month.
Yes.
All that kind of good stuff. Yeah. I had said that I was excited, especially this month, it's Black History Month every single month. Like, I really don't feel like we should have to categorize because at the end of the day, Black history is the epitome of American history. Like, you cannot have American history without really talking about African Americans and the contributions that we have made to really make America what it is and continue to do that. How last week we were talking about, spending, like, the Black spending power is huge. Yeah. And, I think the more that we as a community are able to understand that, the better we are able to make some serious changes in some serious areas. For me, I would love to see some changes in food happen. We are like the last of the last. We're at the end of the line when it comes to doing things that are specifically healthy, for us and that allow us to thrive. So today's Black History tidbit, did you know that 3D movies was actually invented by a Black woman?
No.
Yes. 3D movies, girl. Listen, I had no idea. I believe her name is Viola Davis. Yep. I was like, wait a minute. How did we? Yes. So 3D movies, we don't put that in there. We wouldn't have an AC if it wasn't for an inventor.
Yeah, there's been a lot of inventions that we have not received credit for. And I don't remember where I was years ago, but I was studying one of my kids. They were doing it in school, studying on the inventions. And I found out that a lot of inventions that we did not get credit for, we actually invented.
Yeah, like the light bulb.
We didn't get the credit, but we did it. So I put a post on Facebook and Instagram probably an hour or so ago of Ariel. We went through to an event at the school. They opened the book fair, and I make sure, like, I'm really now intentional about the types of books that she's getting because she's at the age where she understands and she needs more information on who we are as a people and things that we've dealt with. And one of the books was on Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, and then the other one was on civil rights movement. And so we were on the floor and we were reading this, and she was reading it and listening to what she was reading. Like, wait a minute, what happened? Wait a
Mhm.
minute, what? Well, what about this and what about that? Because there was a segment in the book talking about segregated schools and what happened when the schools were integrated and all of that. And I remember my dad telling me he remembers the day that the schools got integrated and how
Yep.
it was. And then she recognized one of the parts was on Rosa Parks, and she recognized her. And so we just went to talking, and she went asking questions from way, way, way back and to want to know how we got to this point. So I
Wow.
had to
I
go
love it.
back. We're having this conversation with her, and she's like, "Well, I want some more books. Bet I'm going to buy them." Because she needs to
Absolutely.
know. We need to know. Our children need to know. We need to try to change this next generation because they are off the chain. They
Yeah.
are just wilding out, and they don't even understand what our ancestors had to go through and deal with to get us to this point. And you out here acting a straight fool.
Right.
All of them flipping in their graves right now. Just like, what is going
Absolutely.
on?
And some are still alive walking around, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's what really is touching. I know for, my oldest, he looks at this and he was like, "Wait, your mom was born at this." Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit more real.
Yeah.
Or, the curriculum that we have been using this year, especially because he's a huge history buff, like he can appreciate the teachings that he's getting because they're actually more grounded in truth. And he's like,
Mhm.
"Mom, I've been lied to for the last couple of years. Like,
Yeah.
Mom, did you know?" And now he's feeling some type of way about being taught erroneous information.
Hmm.
And so now that's making him more self-motivated to go get it, for himself. So,
Right.
as much as we, are looking and we want to keep the importance of representation when it comes to, our children, the characters, whether it's fiction, nonfiction that our children are reading, we also need to look into authors as well. I was reading a very interesting
Mhm.
blog quickly about how there are a lot of books that are written with African American main characters, but the authors actually are not Black. And so it's very
Mhm.
interesting then to be able to understand. And why does that matter? Because sometimes contextually, you only have the point of view that you come from. So even though you mean well and you are attempting to be inclusive in your works,
Yeah.
that is something that, as people, we are also looking for to make sure that, it is 100% culturally appropriate.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
kudos to
That
y'all.
is one of the reasons why I did not want to move to Florida is
Mhm.
because of what the governor had done with the education here. So
Yeah,
now it's going to require me to do more to make sure that Ariel gets the proper information.
absolutely. Well,
Because,
education starts at home anyway, so you're doing what you're
of
supposed to.
course.
You're doing
Hey
what you're supposed
everybody, let's see. We got Mike on here. Mike says, "Congrats, Morgan, on the
to.
baby."
Thank you, thank
Kareen
you.
says, "Hello, hey April and Morgan. Hey Kareen. Listen, if you are on here and you've been listening to us for the past few minutes and you have not shared this broadcast out, how dare you be selfish? Share this broadcast out. And if you have not subscribed to House of Peach, there's a QR code on the screen. We need you to subscribe. We're trying to do some more things. We're trying to get out there more so people can be a part of what we're doing. We do some amazing stuff on this show. We are a year
Absolutely.
in and going strong. A year in and going strong. Hey, LaKendra.
Hey,
Oh,
hey,
did you
G,
get
and
your
Jeff,
book?
how are you?
I sent you your book. Did you get your book? Let me know if you got your book. If not, it is definitely on the way. I already took it this past weekend. All right.
Yes.
Hey, Jeff, how are you? So happy to have you.
So listen, are you excited for where we're putting our next pin? Like I said, I'm about to get our map for this
Oh
so that
yeah,
we can just
we
start
are.
pinning
We
location.
have to.
Are you ready? So today I am like super, super excited for our guest because I personally feel like this is something that I could be able to use. I am a routine person. I feel like routine allows me to stay grounded, as spontaneous as I am.
Mhm.
Um, and so, our guest for today is going to be talking specifically about meaningful mornings and
Mhm.
routines. We're going to be talking about, anxiety and some things that tend to, cause us to be stagnant or stuck. and, not be able to thrive. So
Ooh,
I'm like super,
so on point.
super excited. Yes, yes, yes. So hailing all the way from
Hawaii, y'all.
we have
Move
Megan
it,
Mullen.
move it.
I'm so
Hello.
Hello. Great
Well,
to
we
be here
know
with
whose
you
house
all.
we're partying at this summer. Let me get my
absolutely.
plane ticket together.
How
So,
are you today? What's the weather like? Like, listen, like I said, sweatshirt over here. Share some warmth with us.
There you go. Whoosh. Well, it's a lovely day today. It's probably about 85. Sorry. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh,
We're in Florida, so it's not that bad. I'm in Delaware, so yeah, that's a sorry for me.
It has been really rainy and windy and cold.
I think I'll take that still at 80 degrees, okay?
okay,
I
I'll
know.
take that.
All
Yeah.
relative.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Megan, tell us a little bit about yourself. We're going to obviously put your website up as well so that people can be able to check you out. But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who exactly is Megan? And, give us some background before we get into the meat of, what we're going to talk about.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me, and hello, everybody. So I am leading a movement of people who care so much about how they feel that they make time for themselves every day, because I believe that in order to be truly successful, you do actually get to be healthy and happy as well. But sometimes when we are in our flow and we're, on the go, the first thing to get tossed off the to-do list is self-care and making time for ourselves. And so I know that because I've been there, and I know that because I serve a lot of other entrepreneurs who are very much on a mission and are driven and focused, and as many people are, even if you're not an entrepreneur. But it can be really easy for us to get so focused on giving and serving and sharing and, doing your shows and all the things that we forget that your energy is your most important asset, and your health is really the most important thing that we have, right? And so I really am passionate about sharing the tools of yoga as well as exercise and mental fitness. So mental fitness is something maybe not everyone's heard of, but it is like it sounds. It's strengthening the muscles of your mind to be able to learn how to make your mind a powerful tool, because otherwise it can, kind of run us in circles and be sort of, talking all sorts of nonsense in there, causing a lot of anxiety and stress, and causing us to do things like not do our morning routines or, drink way too much coffee or whatever it is. And so that's the work that I'm really honored to do. And I'm excited to share some of those tools with you.
Awesome.
Well, I surely need to hear this, because I always put myself on the back burner, and I tried not to do that. And I had a moment where I was good with making sure I did my self-care, and then it's like, oh, but I need to do this now. So now that's gone out the window. So I need to get back. But you said something about being truly successful. You have to do that, have to take that self-care, because your energy is what you have. So I'm excited. I'm so happy you're here. So y'all share this out, because you are not the only ones that need this information. There's other people that are stressed out and they're stretched to the limit, and they need to know how to get back to themselves so they can completely do the stuff that they need to.
Absolutely. So look, when I say that there are so many things in the chat before Megan and I really connected with, scheduling some time, she was just like, well, give me a rundown of your show, your audience, and this, that, and the third. And then she gave me like all of these like talking points that she could really bring to the table. And I was just like, we don't have enough time to just pick one, because all of these things are things that like we really need to talk about, especially from an entrepreneurial perspective. But then, just as we already know, like when it comes to our businesses, it always pours into our personal. And there's a lot of time where, like you were saying, with this mental fitness, making sure that that personal doesn't then in turn pour into our business. We don't want our mess over here to then translate to our business. And then that ends up being a little bit more irrevocable than a little honest mistake. So let's talk first about like taking control of, mind, like this actual mind fitness thing. Because I feel like it's necessary to get there before we can really even talk about, self.
Sure. So a little bit of just a small little lesson on this, and maybe people will already know, and it'll be something that's just a good refresher because it's always good to have that repetition, is that when we are stressed out, our brain is in survival mode. And this has been hardwired for thousands and thousands of years. So when we're under stress, whether that's, because of the algorithm and our email deliverability, or it's because of how it was wired originally, which was, saber-toothed tigers and dinosaurs, our brain responds the same way. And it responds in the effort of keeping us alive. And so it goes into survival mode. And so most of the things that we do as entrepreneurs kind of threaten that level of comfortability, right? Like going on shows or, even hosting your own show or whatever else your community does that really stretches us. So our brain is always looking for things that are new, that are unfamiliar, that are perceived to be threatening. And so when we're experiencing stress or doing things that are pushing us outside of our comfort zone, the amygdala, which is our survival center in our brain, is activated. So when it's activated, it defaults to old patterns and programs that we learn as children that show up as self-sabotage. And they show up as things like the nasty voice in our head, the inner critic, some people call it, the ways that the judge, exactly, judgmental, right? And so the judge is really inside the framework it judges ourselves, it judges other people, it judges the situation, or maybe it shows up as overthinking or procrastination or perfectionism or self-doubt. Like I could go on and on.
That was me all of this week, literally. So you're talking to me.
Okay. And so the interesting thing is because of the way, humans are, there's only 10 different ways we self-sabotage. And, each of us is a beautiful, unique character, right? And so that's important to remember. But you'll probably hear some of, of the things that I just said, and you're like, oh, that's me, or oh, that's my friend, or oh, that's my partner. And so we have these similarities. And so what happens with mental fitness is we start to recognize when we're in these patterns. And sometimes you won't recognize it until you've done it a few times over and you're like, why do I always do this? Like for me, this is the example I use. I always procrastinate on my taxes and I avoid my taxes. And I'm like thinking about how much I hate doing my taxes. It causes me a lot of stress. So my brain is like, don't worry. Don't do your taxes. You have a lot of time. Yeah, won't get it done. We'll just get the deadline extension, all that. Yep. But the whole time I'm stressing about it. So that's what happens is that your brain promises you this like, oh, it'll be fine. But while you're over here in peace and not doing the thing and you're stressing about it and you're ruminating about it, then that causes even more stress. And so that's really the core of mental fitness is learning to witness ourselves in these patterns. And specifically, it kind of shows up in that like tense, tight, contracted, resistant, sort of anxious, stressed feeling. And so that's a cue. Okay, what's going on? What am I focusing on right now? How can I bring my mind back into the present moment? And this is where the tools of yoga come in, or movement, or exercise, dance, Tai Chi, whatever it is, right? And so it is, we can use any sort of tool. And so when we recognize that we're in this frustrating pattern, we just pause, right? We want to be gentle with ourselves, because if we go right into critiquing it, then that defeats the purpose, and that's okay, but we try again. And so then we pause, we do something really simple, like breathing deeply, or just rubbing your fingertips together and focusing on the feeling of your fingertips so that you can take your mind away from it and come to your senses. And then from there, you're able to decide, right? So you come out of your head and into your heart and you decide, okay, well, what's the next best step? Well, maybe I could do a couple months of the taxes. I could start to make some progress, that sort of thing. So that is the essence of learning how to make our mind a powerful tool rather than having it run the show.
Absolutely. I love that. I actually just ran into, I don't know if I was on Instagram, I might have been reading an article, but it was talking about how we, as people, once we start using our hands and doing certain things, there's like a reward system that comes with it. So I like really connected with that, where it's like, yeah, okay, fine, just do like a start off with a couple of months. Like sometimes with that just couple of months will get you out of that procrastination, but and it's like, okay, well, I did this, so and it only took me that amount of time, so maybe I could just give myself another hour or so and I can get like another 6 months done. You know what I mean? So I really like that idea of one, self-compassion. And I was like, I don't think that we give ourselves enough of that. So can you talk about that just in general? Like, what does that self-compassion look like? What does that look like when we're talking about that stress? Because I know, also as women, the first thing that we do when, we start stressing, our body produces cortisol. And then all of us want to sit here talking about this little pouch that we've got, and it's literally stress. So I was like, let's unpack some of that self-compassion for a sec.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's interesting because that is the compassion and the empathy is the antidote to self-sabotage. And it's when we are in the patterns of self-sabotage and active in the amygdala, that's as you said, we're in a dysregulated nervous system state and we are getting flooded with cortisol. And so when we pause and we take what I call a power pause, so it doesn't have to be, this sort of thing or doing your breathing or taking a little dance break or whatever feels good to you. What we're doing there is we're quieting that survival center of the brain by coming into the present moment and taking a different look at things. And we're activating a more active frontal part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, which is where we're creative, we're inspired, we're patient, we're kind, we're motivated. Like it's a different version of you. In spirituality, we often call this the higher self or the soul or what have you. So whatever word makes sense to you, if you want to look at it from either lens, they really are looking and saying the same thing. But what we're doing there is we're taking a wider view, because when we're under stress, literally we get so hyper focused, right? Everything in our system changes. Whereas when we are calm, we widen the lens, right? Your eyes will widen, you'll take in more of your surroundings because it's safe to do so if we want to look at it from a physical perspective. And so when you're taking that wider lens and you're coming at it from the perspective of being curious, and wondering, oh, okay, what else could happen here? How else could I handle this? Like if this was my best friend or my child, what would I tell them to do? And so it's a very different, empathetic, compassionate, non-judgmental discernment rather than critique and harshness. That is what tends to happen when we're under stress, because it's very survival, it's fast, it's get it done, Whereas when we're present and we're a little more centered and we're a little more calm, then we're willing to go a little slower. We're willing to be a little more gentle. And in hindsight, that's really, for the most part, I'm guessing how people want to handle it, right? But yet in the moment, we tend to react. What the difference is that we're talking about like taking a second, taking a breath to be able to respond from that self-compassion so that we're not reactive and we don't do or say something we forget. And so it really is kind of just allowing us that space and the grace to take things in a slightly different way.
Would you say that being able to move from one side to the other, that actually is going from survival mode to actually thriving? Because a lot of people are talking about like, survival mode versus actually living and thriving. So is that like this space where thriving and honest, that happy and contentment, not that you're complacent, but just content with, yourself and how things are going? Is that the place that you're speaking of?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when we're under stress, we're more likely to feel and experience what we would consider to be sort of negative emotions, and survival emotions of like fear and doubt and worry and all of that. Whereas when we shift and you go from the place of self-sabotage or self-critique to a place of inner wisdom or guidance, or to a more sage, wise guide, higher self, that allows us to access what some people would call the natural qualities of the heart and those higher frequency or quote unquote positive emotions. And so it really just does, and it sounds simple when we talk about it, and it really is. It's just a matter of doing it, right? But we're
Right.
so accustomed to the patterns of like, oh, this is what I do and this is how I handle it, that's where we get to do the pattern interrupt. And so another analogy I like to use is that we get to, now that we are more conscious adults and we're learning and we're growing and we're seeing new things about ourselves, we get to update the operating system, because, you know, when you got your phone, it had an original operating system on it. But after a while, it gets a bit glitchy and problematic and, you know, all those things. And so eventually, you know, either it does it on its own or you're like, oh, it says I should do it. And you do it.
Right.
Mine is usually the like, oh, I should eventually do this. And so I'm not techie. And so that's what this is taking a new lens, right? It's learning something new that's allowing you to make these choices a little more intentionally, and you're beginning to update the operating system. And truly, you are changing the wiring inside your brain when you do that, because you're choosing a new path for yourself rather than the old worn pattern. You're like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be a little more gentle with myself. And we try, you know, and it's like, okay, we try it and, you know, it feels good. And then we try again. And sometimes we slip up, and it's a practice, just like anything.
It's absolutely. It's definitely an everyday thing. I know it's, for me, intentionally, especially getting in those spots to be able to say, okay, my therapist likes to say, I'm giving child Morgan some play. Or, you know, the child Morgan is, you know, coming out. So he's like, so what would adult Morgan say in this kind of situation? And it's so funny how, like, you're right. It's not hard, but it is a matter of training yourself to be more self-aware in order to be able to regulate yourself the way it's necessary. So why are we talking like mornings? Like, why are we not talking about a night routine or, you know, a mid-course day correction? Like, what is so, what's so important about mornings, and why is a morning routine something that I guess can bring some change to what we're trying to do, as, you know, in life?
For sure. Well, to your point, I do have midday and evening ones as well. But since we're talking about morning, because
so we'll be back for part 2 and 3. Sounds good.
Okay. Because, you know, there's so many cliches. I'm like, pick one. That every day is a gift, and each time we start a new day, we have a fresh opportunity. And so I like mornings for that reason, because you've slept, you wake up, and it's that same sort of clean slate, if you will, right? And so it's a new day, it's a new opportunity, and it's a decision of how are you going to show up today? And that's where we want to make things more meaningful, because otherwise, like we've been talking about, we tend to just run on our default patterns. And this is who I am, and this is how I do things. And this is adult version of me, but child version of me likes to play a little bit more and be a little more lighthearted, but I'm serious because I'm an adult and I'm an entrepreneur. And so it's like, we get to, when we have a meaningful morning routine, and that can be anything. And before we get into this, I will just take some load off the people that are like, please don't tell me I have to do it at 5 a.m. You do not have to do it at 5 a.m. for it to be effective. Okay, we're just going to take that right off the table, because you can do it at any time that it works for you, because ultimately that's the most effective routine, is the one you're actually going to do. And even better than that is the one that you enjoy. And so when you make it work for you and you stretch it out, it can be like a minute and a half while you're brushing your teeth, or 2 hours, I don't know, whatever you want to do, or somewhere in between. So I believe that when we start the day with a meaningful morning routine, then you're literally giving yourself some love and attention. You're filling up the cup, you're putting on the mask, like, you know, all the analogies, and you are deciding how you're going to show up that day. You're deciding to pour energy into yourself so that you have it to give, so that you have overflow, right? Because when we give, especially as women, as caregivers, we tend to get into that. We can get into that, like overgiving, overserving, overdoing, and it can take us to the point of getting burnt out and resentful. And I know that because I've been there. And so the morning routine is what I believe to be one of the most powerful tools to be able to truly get into and stay in that aligned energy of aligning with your vision, your goals, your mission, your purpose, whatever that is to you, so that you can show up with that in your heart and that at the forefront of your mind.
I love that. Yeah, I should have had. Where's my notebook today? That right there was a whole.
I've been taking it all in, even off camera. I've been taking it all in because it sounds so. And for those that are on that took the No More Sabotage classes with me, we all of this is the basis of what we were taught in that. And you talked about the sage mind and about the judge that we hear and all of these things. And I'm like, wow, it's all coming together. We just need to focus on what's going on and not give a response and not a reaction. And just, I don't allow myself grace. That's my thing. I don't allow myself grace, and it just keeps me in that mindset of I haven't done this, I haven't done that, I need to do this, I need to do that, instead of just like, whoa, calm down here, you have this. But I just started a new morning routine to really get my mind flowing and going. It's been good these past couple of days. So that's very key, because if I'm in the right mindset, then creativity for me flows a whole lot better. So then I'm able to think of new ways to do things, creative ideas, all of that. But if I'm constantly like, oh my God, I got to do this, I got to do that, and I need this, and I can only spend this much time, and I can only do that, then I will be all over the place. So,
well, a lot of us grew up not being able to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that is a lot of where that lack of self-compassion comes. You know, we feel like we always have to get it right, or we have to have this element of perfection. And that, I feel like, in and of itself, especially for me, definitely creates a ton of anxiety. You know what I mean? I sit there constantly like, so I wonder if I'm being a good mom. I wonder if I did this. Like, you know what I mean? And then for me, once I get into that space, that's when I will really procrastinate. Like, I'll just everything, my whole centers, everything shuts down.
Well, you got it, because that's exactly what happens, is that when we get active in that part of the brain, and some of the saboteurs, like those, the different, criticalness, the judge, overworking, doubting ourselves, they become active. And then as soon as the judge comes on the scene, and then all of like the other key players of this committee that we all have it in our head, these different sort of noisy voices that we have. So one comes in, the judge comes in, is like, oh, are you being a good mom? I don't know. Okay, well, and then it like recruits all of the other ones. And then it just becomes this vicious spiral that they basically just have you, and they're like, no, we're not letting you go. And so that's where we get really tripped up by it. And we start to feel this questioning ourselves, and we feel ourselves shutting down. And then that tends to just cause more and more and more of that. And that's when we've gotten triggered. Essentially, you could call it getting triggered. We get triggered, and then we go back into that old pattern. And then it's been 3 days and you're still in a funk or whatever, and it's just a recognition. And so really what it is, that you so beautifully said at the beginning, is that self-awareness and that loving compassion. And it's interesting that you brought up the inner child piece, because one of the tools is actually to find a picture of yourself as a child, and to have it somewhere, on your fridge or somewhere. And we want to find a picture that you really like, and that there's that like sweet little sparkle in your essence and in your energy. And you want to look at that version of you, because that version of you still exists inside of you. And what sort of level of compassion and kindness and patience would you show them? Because that's what you need right now. And when you can show it to that version of yourself, essentially you become a conduit for your higher self, or the God or universe or whatever, speaking to you and through you. And so it's like, it's just a matter of starting to be more aware, because we kind of run on default, right? And we're like, oh, up I go. And that's why morning routines as well, because it gives us that little bit of a pattern interrupt. And so it gives us that moment to really kind of drop in and choose and tap into the creativity and the flow and anything else.
Lovely, lovely. You got anything? I was like, now that you're back, April, I was like, you
I
know,
know. I'm just sitting here, and then all of a sudden it's just like gone. Like, wait a minute. Oh, am I not supposed to be on the show tonight? Is that what that is? We're off and on. Like, you know what? And I really was getting in my feelings. Like, oh, is this what's getting ready to happen tonight? Oh, okay. Had to just go out and come back in. Just calm your nerves. It's okay. And lo and behold, what it is I need a new laptop, and I'm just trying to hold on for dear life with that. That's my own little thing. I'm taking up a fund for a new laptop. If anybody wants to donate,
there you go. There you go.
oh my goodness, I am. Everything that you've been saying so far just really has been great for me to hear, and it's helping me to understand that it's okay to take care of me. It's okay. I what I've done and been doing my entire life is from what I've seen. So watch my parents just work and work. My dad worked 2 jobs. My mom, she worked at the hospital at night. So it was just constant going. And that I got that. And so I'm always working until now. Look, I just started back working after 9 months of not working at all, like not doing anything. And when I tell you that was the most difficult 9 months of my life because I'm so independent and I'm like, I need to be working. I need to take care of this. I need to get in my own place and I need to do this. And it's all stressing me out because I'm so used to doing that. But I just needed to take that moment just to use this time to relax and get yourself back focused. You were doing that when you were living there. And I was constantly doing it. So now it's like, calm down. You need to take this moment, allow yourself to regroup, get yourself, because you can't really focus and make a plan if if I'm on, I need to work, I need to make this money, I need to do this, oh, these bills are coming, I need to take care of all of that, then I neglected me. I really did. So now I'm back into the mode of, okay, I'm working, but I'm not getting ready to kill myself. I'm not getting ready to do all of that. And this day is my day. I'm just relaxing. So I'm working on it. Good gracious.
That's a good thing. I'm glad you're giving yourself a day.
Right.
I gave myself a day. I have to take it back again, but I'm glad. Like you said, it's a daily thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's like a minute to minute thing.
But I will take that because you're right. It is very much a minute to minute thing because there are plenty of times where, you know, as entrepreneurs, things don't go the way that we want to, and the first thing we're like, okay, fine, I'll just go back to this regular 9 to 5, or I'll just
oh my God, yes.
ordinary, or you know what I mean?
How many times have I said that? Like, you know what? This isn't working. Well, you've only been in it like a couple of months. Like, what's the problem? Yep. You just gotta give it time. We just want things so fast and want to see results so fast. You don't want to give the time for it, and then that puts you in a different place. And then you got this. The judge is like, "See, I knew you should have gotten into that. You should have started this business. Look at it. It's been 2 months, and you should be making this kind of money." And really, it's like, no, I really shouldn't. It's going to take me at least a year to build this. What are you talking about? So,
right. Absolutely.
See, and that's what mine sounds like. It's like, we're so similar. It's crazy, right? It's like, that's the thing, is that it's really good that we're having this conversation for your listeners and for all of us to have this reminder, because, you know, we have this expectation based on these things that we've learned as children or grown up in all these different ways that we have learned and been impacted. Then it's like, we have this sort of super high standards for ourselves. And if we fall anywhere short of that, then of course it's just fuel for the fire. Right. And so that's really it, is that, like, that willingness to be curious and be compassionate and to cultivate that confidence and ultimately trust, because what this is doing is showing us when we're in that, like, really wound up sort of like red zone state of like, I don't know what to do. I got to fix it. I got to make it work. And that's not the vibe. It's certainly not the vibe, but yet we get into that vibe so quickly. And so what we want to do is where like the yoga or dance or whatever you like to do for your body helps us to come back to our center, come back home, come back to a more calm and grounded and regulated state in our nervous system. Because if we're just in that like state, then we're in that red zone. Whereas when we're a little more centered, we're a little more able to like see when we're getting wound up and then bring ourselves back down and just process the stress, get the survival stress out of our body. If we've had a minute where we lost it, we got upset or whatever, just using our body to clear that energy, clear the stress so that we can essentially just kind of recalibrate our nervous system and come back to that steady state, so that we're not way up here. And then if something happens, we're like, woof, through the roof. Or the opposite, right? Is if sometimes when people go, they handle things by shutting down, and that's procrastination or avoidance. And so that can cause feelings of sadness and self-doubt. And so like, you can see how it goes in other directions, opposite directions. But ultimately, it's having these tools, having these reminders, having these conversations that remind us of the importance of it, both from a happiness, a mental health, an opportunity, financial, like it's all connected in my opinion. And you likely agree, because they all serve each other. And so that's why it's so important to have whatever it is, right? If you don't want to do a morning routine, that's fine. Do it at lunchtime, do it whenever, but just do something for yourself.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think people haven't really grasped from a medical standpoint that we have the ability to rewire ourselves and change how the signals are going in our brain and what happens in our body. We have the ability to do that. Some people, yes, will need medication, but you help them out. But if you start really focusing in on that and really like you said, recognizing it when you are up here and start doing those things that will get you back centered, bring you back down, ground you and calm you down, then you can change the whole process. And then before you know it, when things come, you immediately, before it gets you here, you've already instituted and activated this calming action, whatever it is that you do for yourself. You've already you recognize it early before it gets you all out of whack, and just calm yourself. Y'all, we have that ability. I know this from being in the medical field. Our bodies were made to self-heal. We were made for that. We were made to do that. That's why, and I don't want to get too deep into medical stuff, but when their body needs time to heal, sometimes they put them in a coma. A medically induced coma, what does that do? It gives your body rest. It gives your mind rest. So then your body's able to heal. Those cells are able to regenerate and make new cells, and the old cells die off and come out however they come out. But that's what we are made to do. And
Absolutely.
if we keep ourselves in this state of just going, I could just see the poor little cells. It's like, help me.
Well, that's it. I was like, we are energy beings, you know what I mean? We literally respond to energy. Everyone wanted to, make light of Andre 3000's latest album, but in all actuality, the frequency in which that entire album is healing. It's calming. It is actually recentering. So those of us who are aware and can be able to it's like, oh wow. Yeah. This is new Sunday morning cleaning music. Like, we thought it was the oldie but goodies, but now we're just taking it to a whole new level to kind of just, zen it all out. How do we teach this also to our children so that we're not having this conversation at 40? Because, I know as parents, we sit here and, kids, obviously the first ones to be unregulated, you know what I mean? Needing to know how to really self-soothe, even teaching, self-compassion, I know is a conversation that I'm constantly having with my 13-year-old, because I was the one who was constantly brought up, like, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. So that's all I knew. And that's how I raised him. So now at 13, I'm like, dude, if you don't just go take a chill pill somewhere, he's like, how? And, so how can we bring this also to a kid-friendly perspective?
Well, we can look at them as almost characters in a play. When we have these different ways that we respond, the person that gets really uptight or that gets angry or that gets really emotional, you could almost label them or give them a name so that there's a bit, and this is, I use this with adults as well, so take this as it goes for you as well, but to be able to call it, just so that there's some separation, because what we're doing there is when we recognize the pattern, we're saying to ourselves, oh, there I go again, doing that thing of getting really upset or worrying about stuff. Okay, well, what could we call that when we feel like that? Oh, is that Wanda the worrier? And so when we notice that feeling, we can just kind of call it out and like, oh, that's happening again. How does she make you feel? Well, she makes me feel really upset and makes me feel angry. And so like having that conversation so that they can start to recognize. And so it's kind of like a little bit of a game that we can play of like, when we get stressed, we notice that Wanda's going to show up. And so it's kind of like we wait. Oh, did Wanda show up today? No, I did so good. And so that
Right.
becomes a little bit more like we sort of anticipate it because it's programmed in there. But after we do the wiring process, then we can start to really notice it and we don't default to it. So when we notice that, for example, Wanda showed up and we're really worried or we're stressed out, that's when we do something that would take us into the body. So, whatever your child or whoever wants to do, we talked about, rubbing our fingertips together. We talked about putting our hands on our body and breathing deeply, or something we can do is like reach up, drop down, reach up, drop down. And so that there's something that basically just takes your mind into a different focus, and you're learning to take control of the mind in that moment. And then you could just ask them to say, or you say to them, okay, well, what would feel really good to you right now? What would make you feel really happy? How can we look at this a different way? And again, these are adult appropriate questions as well.
Right.
So that's the thing, is that the versatility of this tool set is really incredible. And so it's just helping them begin to recognize the feeling of it and honor that, and then just kind of play a little game with it or call it a funny name, and just make it something that's a little more lighthearted. Because as soon as we make it wrong, of course there is a boundary on that if they are doing something wrong, but like as soon as we make something wrong and we're really critical with it, then that's just creating that cascade of stress even more. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So at least I feel like I am on the right path. If nothing else, I kind of start with myself, so there'll be times where I'm like really, really tired. And of course, when I'm tired, I get like extra cranky, or, I can be kind of short at times. And so I have said to my kids, like, listen, cranky pants right now. My bad. Like, it is what it is. So there will be times where I will just maybe answer shortly. And so then my 4-year-old will be like, hey, Mom, are you tired? And I'd be like, actually, yeah. And he's like, I think I could tell because you're a little cranky. And I was just like, you know what? Thanks. And then there's empathy in that. Like, there was zero judgment, but this was him recognizing what was going on, being in tune with what was going on with me. And so then he didn't take it personally. He wasn't over here like, oh, my mom doesn't love me. Oh, she's not really trying to talk to me right now. This and the 30s. So like, oh, Mom is just tired, and I can afford to give her 15 minutes without calling her name. And it was like, and that's what I end up getting in that. So I was like, that was sound advice.
I'm definitely going to use that for Ariel, because she can go from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds. She did that tonight, and I was just looking at her like, what is wrong with you? So I'm going to do that here. Let's put our hands up and down. Let's breathe. Come on, take a few deep breaths. I'm going to need to do that. Otherwise, it's going to set, what it does is it sets me off, because I'm like, why are you acting like this? What is wrong? Before you know it, the two women in the house are just, like cats on the ceiling. Like, oh no,
absolutely. That's to understand, I think, is necessary, in that, because sometimes as children, we have a developed prefrontal cortex, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have that. So sometimes us telling them like, go figure that out or go regulate that feeling, like that's something that they cannot do.
And giving them the tools, because what happens through our different mirror neurons is, when she's getting upset and then you find yourself getting triggered, and then it's just like, And
Yeah.
so if you do it together, okay, we're going to do the thing now. We're going to do the thing and just like do the breathing and then drop into, into that energy and presence with each other. That's so important. And going back to your point, Morgan, is like you are doing such a great thing there because you're giving him that framework, because otherwise it's really easy for us to kind of, going back to our own childhood, we think about the moments that made a mark on us of like, my mom was so upset and she never talked to me, and all of that, or whatever it was, that could potentially become a story for them. You're like, oh, my mom was just tired, and so so that's a really important distinction, is that when we have these different emotional experiences, we're giving them labels and we're giving them names or characteristics. And so that we're able to have that level of emotional intelligence. And that's really what this is teaching children, which is great for children because most adults don't have this level of understanding. So it's like, let's start as soon as we can. But I hope that was, some helpful tips to start with.
Absolutely. So I was like, unfortunate. I was like, I hate the fact that like our time goes by so fast, especially when we're having like real good conversation. But if you could give our guests a takeaway and something that they could be able to use that may transform what they are already doing in the morning to maybe be more intentional to get the result that they're looking for?
Great question. That was actually going to be my suggestion, is that
Mhm.
when we set goals, a vision for our business, our life, or maybe New Year's intentions or quarterly, whatever's, we tend to write them down and then forget them until the next year or till the next month or whatever. And so what we want to do is keep them top of mind and top of heart. And so when you think about your vision or your goals, really take a moment to get into the feeling of that. Like, what are those feelings that you feel when you're excited about stuff, or that you feel accomplished, or you feel successful or happy, grateful, whatever it is. So those are your North Star emotions. And so, as you so beautifully said, we are energetic beings. And so it's important for us to be intentional about where we're putting our focus and how we're feeling. And so think about your North Star emotions and what can you do in the morning to feel into that just a little bit, because sometimes we wake up, we're tired, we didn't sleep well, we had a late birth, whatever it is, and we wake up and we're tired, and it's kind of hard to go from like feeling cranky pants to feeling like joyfully ecstatic and on top of the world. So we just think about like, okay, well, what can I do to make myself feel a little bit happy this morning? Or what can I do that you're already doing, like while you're brushing your teeth, if that's your morning routine, how can you just go back into your vision of like, why I want this? Because when I accomplish these goals and when I have a movement, whatever it is, just to bring it back into your mind, into the forefront of your mind, because that way you're showing up into the day with the vision as the driving force, right? And so you're moving into, and anything that you do in the morning and throughout your day will then hopefully be impacted by that intention that you've set in the morning. And so you can just layer it on something you're already doing. And if you don't have time in the morning and your morning routine is like to get up, get the kids and drive to school, well, just in that moment when you drop them off or whenever, before you go into something else, just have that moment for yourself and whatever that looks like for you, so you can layer it on.
Absolutely. I love that. I have been learning in the days where I don't get to have my whole day to find the little spaces where I can still give myself something. And, it doesn't always mean, some people think that like that self-care looks like, oh, going to go get your nails done or going to go get your hair done or whatever. But like for me, sometimes it's just 10 to 15 minutes of just being quiet. You know what I mean? Sometimes it is just being able to, there's a couple of beaches that are not too far away. We're just, being able to be outside and in the presence of water. That's something that, kind of just, I feel like grounds me specifically. And so, being able to find a couple of minutes to be able to do that, to like bring things back into, focus is necessary. So April, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
You just can't see me.
I wanted to make sure you're still with us.
Yes, I'm still here.
You got anything?
No, one thing that you talked about was the frequency, and I realized I couldn't understand why some songs that I would listen to, that I would play them repeatedly, just over and over again. It was just something about it. But I found out there's a certain frequency that I operate on. And if a song has that frequency and it literally does calm me down, and it puts me in a state of being relaxed where I'm not so stressed. And so I just found a song, and don't know how I missed this song, but I found this song and I put it on my playlist. And I promise you, all day yesterday, even into the night, I went to sleep listening to this song. And I'm trying to figure out like why, but it's that frequency, it's that harmony, it's the sound of that. Very soothing, very relaxing, and I slept really well last night. So, it's important for all of us to understand and find those things that will put us in that place and get us into that routine. And when we find out, music is my thing. If I'm high up there and things are not going like I want, I turn on some music and I'm good. That right there will help relax me. So I am so appreciative that you were able to come on. I feel so bad. I'm sitting here talking and you see two on the screen, like, this is not how this is supposed to go. But
we're just rolling with it. We did great.
Absolutely. I'm just excited about, if nothing else for me tomorrow, being a bit more intentional about my routine. Because what I actually got from this was, if I take the time in the morning to really, like you said, keep those things that matter to me and my why at the top of my heart, that allows me to be able to then go through the day with an actual game plan. I think there are times where I just wake up and, like you said, we're on autopilot. We just kind of, just by default, we get up and we just start doing. And so that's why 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's like, I feel like I have zero direction. What the heck am I doing? Like, I don't feel like I've accomplished anything today. But if I start the day with, the intention of, this is what, I'm trying to do. These are the things that, are going to bring me closer to what I am, what my goal is. I feel like I probably will have a better point of view, perspective, and just attitude in general about getting, some things done. So I really, really appreciate this. Guys, I was like, I think I put somewhere Megan's her website to be able to put up. What can we be able to find on the website? Is there information? Are there services? How do people contact you? All that good stuff.
Yes, for sure. So yeah, my website, you can definitely go and learn more about what I have going on. But I can also share, if you go to giftfrommegan.com. So giftfrommegan.com. There's actually a 3-part mini audio training where we talk a lot more about what we've been talking about here today, how to go from anxious to amazing and learn how to harness the power of your mind. And so it's a free audio training going a lot deeper into this and how we get tripped up with self-sabotage and how you can start to use some of these tools, and or teach them to your little ones, which is awesome as well. So yes, that you can grab that from Gift from Megan.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan, all the way from Hawaii.
So great to have you on.
Well, look, I was like, we're gonna have to come. I guess one of our House of Peach trips is gonna have to be to Hawaii. We're gonna have to just come and hang out.
I'm ready. Let me start saving up my money.
Absolutely, we're gonna do this. Well, guys, April, you want to take us out?
Oh, okay. How about I talk and you just move your mouth like it's you? No, I'm just
okay.
Kidding.
Great. I'll do the hand motions. I got you.
Oh my gosh, we have come to the end of another phenomenal show. Megan, we are so happy that you were able to join us and give us all this great information that for me was confirmation on what I need to do and continue to do. Continue what the work was started a year and a half ago. But y'all, I want you to definitely reach out to Megan. She can help you in your life. Some of y'all are too stressed out and you need to calm down. and you need to get this phenomenal woman to help you with that so you can thrive not only in your life but in your business as well. Because if you're not right, your business isn't going to be right. So definitely do that. We also want you to join us next week. You never know who we're going to have on and where they're coming from. Y'all have been on with us since the beginning of this year, and you already see we have traveled all over the U.S. so far, and yet more places to go. So next Tuesday at this same time, we will be here. And if you have not subscribed to the House of Peach, I'm going to need you to run on over to YouTube. So scan this QR code here, go to YouTube, pull up House of Peach, subscribe to the page. Oh my goodness, you won't be disappointed. All of our shows from a year ago are on there. I was on there the other day, like, I remember this show. I remember that. Guess what? One of the shows that I saw was the one where I came back from Costa Rica and I had your spice.
Hot sauce, yeah.
I saw that. I'm like, oh my gosh. But we want you to join us. We want you to subscribe so you'll know when we're on, so you can let others know. Share this out. But until next week, have an amazing evening, an amazing ending to your week. And don't forget to take care of you. All right. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks again, Megan.
Yeah, I'm so extra. Express myself, I'm next up. Yeah, what more do you say? Coming up. Yeah. Come on. Yeah.